Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to First and Short, your first place to get short bits of college football news and analysis. Today is Thursday, October 23rd. This is Aaron. I am Mashfik, and we are First and Short. Before we get started, we just want to ask, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. The channel has been growing. We really appreciate you guys joining us on this journey, and we're having a lot of fun. And Aaron, I think is this episode? Oh, this is episode 20. Had to look at the script real quick. So we're making moves here. So got a lot on the agenda. So we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, also Aaron, welcome back. How's Texas?
Hey man, Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. I feel like I come back to my room every day and I'm just eating too good.
Yeah, you went to the state fair. I know that. I know
Yes,
you.
yes.
Yeah, you didn't get to see the game, but I'm jealous you got to go to that.
Yep. Got to see the Cotton Bowl, just nothing was going on in it.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yep.
Well, good to have you back, man. When I'm talking by myself, I get thirsty. It's just a lot of talking. Anyway, we're gonna talk about some coaching search and stuff. Obviously, Billy Napier was fired early this week. What's the latest on that at Florida? What's up with Mike Norvell at Florida State? You would think that guy would have been gone by now after losing to Stanford like that, but we'll talk about what's the update there. Heisman odds. I don't know. I felt like it's a good time to just revisit that real quick. I know that's something we talked about preseason. Spoiler alert: it looks nothing like the week 8 Heisman odds look nothing like preseason Heisman odds. So we'll talk about that, and then obviously give you that week 9 preview. We picked out about 10 games, the top 10 games we think you should watch while you're a couch potato this weekend, and we'll give you our thoughts and picks on that. Last week, Aaron, you were 7 for 11 and I was 4 for 11. So I think I'm gonna play it more. I was being a little risky on some of my picks. So I think I'll play it a lot more safe this time around.
Okay, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the latest on Florida after Billy Napier was fired?
Oh my gosh, man, it's been 5 days, less than 5 days, really. And we're already hearing about potential coach candidates and replacements, right? Um, Before we get into that list, of potential candidates and coaches, we can already tell you that Notre Dame's head coach, Marcus Freeman, he's off the list. He said, no, not interested in the job.
Yeah.
So go ahead and mark him off, cross him off, right? With that being said, here are some notable names on a list I saw on Sports Illustrated's top 10 candidates and replacements. First things first, an interesting candidate that I saw, John Summerall at Tulane. He's very knowledgeable as a former player and a former coach in the league. He has a lot of SEC teams eyeing him right now as he's, turning Tulane around, making them a G5 favorite to maybe get into the college football playoff. So it makes sense.
Hmm.
Yep. If you ask Florida fans who their favorite candidate is right now, I think they'd say somebody like Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, right? It makes sense. I mean, he's a Saban prodigy. He's an offensive genius. You see what he's doing with Ole Miss right now. And with that offensive mindset, I mean, maybe he could keep DJ Lagway planted, right? There's risk of him entering the transfer portal with all the struggles he's had at Florida right now. But I mean, who says Lane Kiffin is interested in going into another SEC gig? He already has an SEC gig right now, and I mean,
Yeah.
the team is doing well, right? So
I would say like at Ole Miss, I mean he's raised the expectation, but the expectation's different at Ole Miss versus what it is at Florida. It's a lot more of
very
a
true.
boiler room. I guess I could explain it at Florida, right? So, and that might not be uh, a situation that he can thrive in. So that's something to think about as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so I scrolled down the list. I saw some Big Ten names, some smaller G5 names, but a name at the bottom of the list that was very interesting to me. I saw Todd Munkin. Uh,
Mm.
this will be an interesting move because this is a guy who was, he's currently an offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, right? But he's shown a lot of, uh, a lot is on his resume to show that he knows how to turn a program around at the college level, right? He did a really great job leading Southern Miss, but he was also a part of the UGA coaching staff that won two national championships most recently. He was the offensive coordinator for there, and I think you just see a real difference in how explosive and how efficient that offense was versus kind of versus what we see today.
Yeah.
Um,
I know the Ravens fans aren't too happy with them right now, especially considering their record. I don't follow the NFL that much, but I know the Ravens record isn't too great, and a big surprise, they're pointing their finger at the offensive coordinator to fire him. So
yeah,
that would be interesting.
that would be very interesting. Um, Bottom line, the options are endless, right? We're not sure if there's a clear favorite for the Florida staff and AD, but the pressure is on. Florida hasn't really seen a great season since uh 2019, pre-COVID. And guess who that coach was, during that 2019 season?
Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen, right?
Yeah.
UNLV's own Dan Mullen. I mean, he's turning that program around right now. So, I mean,
I would argue the 2020 season was pretty good up until that player threw the shoe at
yeah.
LSU in the fog. So half of 2020, I guess. But yeah,
Mhm. They're
Dan
saying,
Mullen was there.
I've seen, different theories about how that just is a curse for Florida and that just turned
Yeah.
everything
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
table. Everything points to just rehiring Dan Mullen, which, it'd be
Fix it.
crazy. Fix it, right?
Fix
Oh,
the
how the
curse.
tables
Yeah.
would turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Staying in Florida, Mike Norvell, obviously
mhm,
hot seat number one. We talked about him in the preseason. After their, latest debacle against Stanford, they've now lost 9 consecutive ACC games. That's obviously leading back to last year. I think there's hesitancy here from the Florida State organization because of that large buyout that he has. His
mhm.
contract, Norvell's contract, is over 50 million. His staff is another 50 million. That's a total of $100 million that they
Wow.
would still have to owe, on top of paying a top-notch coach, right?
Mhm.
I think one thing we're gonna see, like there was a period of the last maybe 5, 6 years or so where it was a coaching market, or it was a coach's market where they could ask for these large buyouts, or sorry, include these large buyouts in their long contracts. Right now, with how the transfer portal it is, and how NIL is, and how boosters want to see results now, I think
Mhm.
a lot of that money will be fed towards the players, and you're just gonna have to do it with more mediocre, quote unquote, mediocre coaches. Um, yeah, I think that's just what the trend is going to be the next 5 years or so. The official stance by Florida State, the athletic director, Michael Alford, he released a public statement confirming that Norvell is the head coach. This is who the team is behind, at least for the end of the season, rest of this season. And then there will be a quote unquote, again, comprehensive assessment of the football program, um, which pretty much means he's done at the end of the season. Like there's no way he's surviving a comprehensive assessment of the football program. So
Yeah. I mean, what a roller coaster of a season for this guy. I mean, he went from, starting out on the hot seat in the beginning of the season and being the only team so far to beat top ranked, top four ranked Alabama. Like
yeah,
now we pretty much know at the end of the season what's coming. So it's crazy.
what do you do? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll see a lot of. Well, it's too late to be a red shirt now, but yeah. So moving forward, yeah, so Heisman stuff, right? So I thought it was interesting to go ahead and look into Heisman odds. I've been seeing it a lot. A lot. There's been a lot of big movers, I guess. And I thought it would be interesting to compare it to how the list looked preseason, before the season, and how it looks right now. So, preseason,
Mhm.
I'll just give the top five here. We had Arch Manning leading the way. Garrett Nussmeier in second, Kate Klubnik third. These are odds that DraftKings was giving. Then we had Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin. I think those to me, to me, I thought Arch Manning was a bust. I've always thought that. The media kind of hyped him up. Garrett Nussmeier, I thought, okay, maybe that could be Clay Club. Everybody else on that list, I thought was a pretty good to go.
Yeah.
Looking at the list now, those top three guys nowhere to be found. Ty Simpson leads the way right now at the quarterback at Alabama. Fernando Mendoza. I think after that was that game against Illinois where they really had their first like prove it game and they won like 100-0 or something like that.
Mhm.
He jumped up that list, right? Julian Sane is still there. Marcel Reed, he's looking good. Diego Pavia, your Nashville hero, he's in
Yep.
there. Our boy Gunner, he's up there.
Hey,
So list is very different from where it was at the beginning. Aaron, just want to hear your thoughts. How do you think this is an appropriate list? Do you think this list is fair?
I think so. I mean, if you're, the Heisman in my eyes is the most valuable player. You can't be a most valuable player unless you're leading your team to win and leading them closer to, competing for a national championship. And if you look at the top seven players on that list, all of them are in, contention of competing for a national championship. So I definitely think it's appropriate.
If you had $100 and
Mhm.
you're trying to maximize your odds to win some money, how would you spread this? How would you spread that $100 out between and when you pick your players, let the audience know what the odds is and how would you spread that out?
Sure. So $100, 50 is going towards Ty Simpson right now. Just because I mean he's a clear favorite. I don't see Alabama losing anything right now, and I see them being a clear favorite to win the national championship. I mean, and half the time, 9 times out of 10, if you're competing for a national championship, you're going to be a top three. Uh, then I'm going to get a little fun with my money. I'm going to go Marcel Reed. I'm going to put $20 on him, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think if he finds a way to stay undefeated and maybe beat Alabama in the SEC championship, that's
Oh,
pretty good spot
yeah,
to put the money, right? It's going to
yeah.
have to be because of him and his explosion on offense. How many? I got $30 more left. I'm gonna
If you,
put.
yeah.
Yep. So I'm gonna put another. I'm gonna put 15 on Diego Pavia. He's just a guy that I really like watching, and I think he's like the underdog favorite that everybody roots for.
Yeah. Hmm.
Right. I'm putting 5 on Gunnar Stockton just because he's got good odds at plus 1200, and I mean if Georgia finds a way to be back on top and somehow has to play in the SEC championship, and it's because he's going off. That those are great
Yeah.
odds. And then the last 5, I'm putting on Dante Moore. Oregon's kind of been quiet on that national championship competitor list, but I mean they lost to a good ranked number 2 Indiana team. I still think they have a chance to compete and be well in contention.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That sounds like a good split. I like that. That was a fun exercise. Let's move
Mm-hmm.
forward. So let's look at the games that we're going to be having this weekend. 12 p.m. We're getting started early on Saturday with the good games. UCLA at number 2, Indiana. Indiana is top 15 rush yards per game, and they're ranked top 40-ish pass yards per game. Guess what? They don't rely on their quarterback to do most of the rushing. We've seen that a lot in a lot of these in a lot of these teams that rely a lot on rushing the ball. They have a healthy stable of running backs to do that for them. I think the key for UCLA in this game is going to be able to is are they going to be able to stop that run? They've been improving over the last couple of weeks, especially since they've been on this 3-game winning streak after getting a new head coach, new offensive coordinator. But I don't think UCLA will be able to get enough points on the board here. They've been pretty inconsistent and having to rely a lot on field goals. Indiana's defense is top 10 in yards allowed per game by their opponent. So I don't see a way for Nico to mount a upset here against Indiana. I'm going to go with Indiana on this one.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you there. It may be interesting for a second, but Indiana looks really strong this year, man. So I'm going with
Yeah.
the Hoosiers. All right. Next, also at 12, we got Syracuse going to number 7. That's right, number 7 ranked Georgia Tech. Um, I will be in attendance at this game, so I'll be able
Nice.
to, do some analysis and deep diving while sitting in the stands, right? Um, Georgia Tech, let's talk about them. They're 7-0 because their run game sets up, a high efficiency play action passing attack. Um, Syracuse defense has struggled, especially against balanced offenses, making the Yellow Jackets rushing game even more important in this game. Uh, Georgia Tech, they're one of the few teams in the nation averaging 235 rushing yards and 250 passing yards per game. That's a very balanced offense. They can beat you with a power run or a deep shot, and that balance is why they're undefeated right now.
Mhm.
Yep. So on
Hard
the
hard
latter
to
end,
hard to hone in as a defense on one of those when they can beat you both ways.
yeah, yeah, you gotta stay disciplined and you gotta be ready for anything, just because of all the misdirection that Georgia Tech likes to do.
Mhm.
Um, so Syracuse, they had 7 sacks and 13 tackles for loss in their last game, which is one of the best single rank marks in the ACC this year. So they're going for a home run on defense. They're going to have to have a similar performance this Saturday. It's hard to get sacks on when Haynes Kings, he's so mobile and so tricky with the ball.
Mhm.
Ultimately, both of these teams beat Clemson, who we thought was going to be, so much more of a better performer in the
Yeah.
ACC this year. Um, but ultimately, I don't see Tech losing this one at home. I'm going to have to go
Yeah.
Jackets with this one. What are your thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I'm all in on Georgia Tech being undefeated until the end of the season. So, but based on everything you said, and from an analysis standpoint, I think Georgia
Mhm.
Tech's got the juice to win this one.
Yep. Makes sense. Makes sense. Another game at noon. Man, it's time to get the multiple TVs out already as soon as the day starts. Um, You got South Florida, ranked number 18. They're going to Memphis. So here we have two teams that have been, the G5 favorites to potentially make the college football playoffs. South Florida is the second best team in the state of Florida, in my opinion. If you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nonetheless, they're a world-oiled offense machine with Byron Brown under center. He's the leading rusher and passer right now for the team. So pretty dual threat, explosive guy on offense. On the other side, you have Memphis, who's getting better and better under head coach Ryan Silverfield. Um, Aside from the shocking loss to UAB last week, this team was my favorite to be in the college football playoff. They had a win over SEC team Arkansas, and the resume was looking pretty good until last week.
Yeah.
But with that being said, both of these teams are 6-1. Um, this game is going to be slept on, but it should not be. I think the winner of this game is going to somehow sneak into the college football playoffs as an 11th or 12th seed. Um, with that being said, I still think South Florida is the top dog in this matchup right here. They're ranked 18 for a reason. They shown up and beat Florida. I got the Bulls.
Yeah, for sure. I thought, yeah, I mean, like Memphis's win. I'm gonna base it on like how they were able to beat like high level opponents. I
Mhm.
thought Memphis's win over Arkansas required a lot of luck and things going their way, bounces of balls going their way. And again, Arkansas is like they're an okay SEC team. USF, yeah, they beat Florida, which is probably one of the worst SEC teams. But I thought even though that they lost pretty bad against Miami, they were able to put up some points. They did some nice things in that game. But yeah, I'm gonna go with USF, South Florida on this one, based on based on the level of competition now they played there. Um, 12 p.m. game, Ole Miss at Oklahoma. We're going to do a deep dive on that one later. So let's move into 3:30 right now. Number 4, Alabama at South Carolina. Aaron, you don't have to answer this, but do you think Sellers can take another beatdown like he took against Oklahoma last weekend? He was sacked a lot. He would try to scramble and lost a lot of yards a lot. I don't think that's going to be the game plan for him moving forward in this game. But I think Alabama, from a defensive standpoint, will look to copy that exact game plan, especially considering like South Carolina does have a proof of concept on how to beat Alabama, right? Florida State was able to do it with a mobile quarterback. So I think Lenore Sellers being a mobile quarterback, South Carolina will look to emulate that. But will it still work? Again, I mean, maybe Alabama has kind of worked on that weakness, and maybe that won't work. But I'm sure South Carolina will at least try it. For South Carolina, you know, what would they have to do on defense in order to stop this rolling Alabama offense? I think Dylan Stewart is the answer there. He has to apply pressure from the edge. Um, he is their best player on defense. He's going to have to step up. We've and they're going to have to continue being good in red zone defense. They're ranked pretty high on that. So in order to win this, kind of lopsided battle, they're going to have to make Alabama settle for field goals in order to keep it competitive. But with that being said, I understand South Carolina is the home team, but they just have they need a lot of things to go right for them. I can't with confidence say South Carolina is going to get the upset here. So I'm going to go with Alabama. What do you think?
Yeah, man. I was just watching Alabama progress over this season. I've seen this thing I think they have in their shrine. It's called like the DeBoer hoodie of death. He wears this
Oh
black
yeah.
hoodie, and like he's just been winning every game in that hoodie, so he's gonna
I
continue to
know he
wear it.
doesn't watch it. I know for a fact he doesn't watch that.
Yeah, no, it's superstitious, man. And Alabama is getting better and better, and I see him getting more and more confident in his coaching swagger. Give me
Mhm.
the give me the tie. Like I don't think it's gonna be close.
Gotcha. Yep. Yep. All
Mhm.
right. So another 3:30 game, number 15 Missouri at number 10 Vanderbilt. College game day that will be live from Nashville. Vanderbilt has their highest ranking since World War II. Before last, yeah, before last week's game against LSU, that was the first time Vanderbilt was favored against an SEC team in 51 consecutive SEC matchups, and now they're favored. Now they're favored against another SEC team 2 weeks in a row. Very interesting. I'm excited to watch this one, but I think it'll be a quick game in terms of like real time. Both teams love to run the ball, so I think that uh, the clock will just continue to run the entire time the game is on TV. So Vanderbilt side, obviously they've got Diego Pavia, he's the leading rusher on their team. On Missouri side, they got Ahmad Hardy, leading rusher in the SEC. Both rushing defenses are ranked in the top 15 or so. So I think that's pretty equal on both of those sides. But Vanderbilt's offense is a lot more explosive and a lot more efficient. So I think they'll try to trick play Missouri into thinking they're running, but go for the explosive pass. But yeah, and they're also a lot more efficient in terms of EPA per drive, advanced analytics here, expected points added per drive.
Oh,
Um, so with all that being said, plus Vanderbilt's at home, I think Vanderbilt will win this one.
nice, nice, nice. So yeah, I hate to see two teams who kind of like been the underdog favorites in the SEC go against each other because it's going to create separation and somebody's got to lose, somebody's got to go down. But I love the way Diego Pavia he's utilizing, his team. He's got a good running back behind him. He's got tight end that he gets the ball to, and he's mobile himself. I think Vandy
Yep.
wins this.
Yep. Yep.
Mm, yeah. Okay. And next on the list at 4:15, we have number 22 Texas going to Mississippi State, and this is our underdog of the week. Underdog pick of the week. We are now what 4-5 on the season, so not too shabby, but we're gonna do better. We're gonna find a
Room
way
for
to get back to
improvement.
five. Yep, we're gonna get back to 500. It's okay. Right now the spread is in favor of Texas with 7.5 points. So this game, looking at the records, can be so deceiving. You have Mississippi State, who's 4-3. So from a high level, you can say, okay, they're just an okay team. They're Mississippi State being Mississippi State again, right? I'm gonna argue and say no. Something's in the water in Starkville right now. There is some chemistry on offense happening, and I think two of those losses come from pretty good top 25 teams. let's not forget about one of those losses being a top 25, loss to Tennessee in overtime. They put up 34 on that team. So I mean, they're explosive. They beat Arizona State earlier this year. I mean, Arizona State just beat Texas Tech last week, a team that was going to be our dark horse to make the college football playoffs. They still can, but
Long road ahead.
they're yeah, long road ahead. So there's proof in the pudding there that they're a team that can do something. And then you have Texas. Texas is 5-2, 5-2, but it's been an ugly 5-2. I mean, the offense is struggling. Your leading tackler, Michael Taft, he just had surgery on his thumb, so he's going to be sidelined for weeks. This team just went to overtime with Kentucky last week, which is if you're thinking about the
Welcome to
standard
the
for
SEC.
Texas, yes. If you're thinking about the standard for Texas, this is not where they thought they were going to be this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have Arch Manning, a guy who's, like you said, overrated and overvalued at the beginning of this season. He's kind of showing his struggles this year. I mean, he can't pass the ball with a defense that's really worth a dime, that's going to pressure him and not give him clear, open reads, right? I said it last week. The schedule for Texas doesn't get any easier. So, I mean, Mississippi State, I I was doing some research on them. They're a better offensive team than Texas in every statistic right now. So don't be surprised if we're sitting here Sunday and we're saying Mississippi State found a way to upset the Longhorns. With
Yeah.
that being said, I'm picking Mississippi State in this one.
Yeah. So with the underdog pick of the week, Mississippi State is the underdog by 7.5. I agree with you. I mean, based on your analysis, yeah, I like Mississippi State. So obviously, if you're getting 7.5 points, and if you win outright, this is a game ready for an upset. Then, so I like it. All right, moving on to 7 p.m. Stanford at number 9, Miami. Honestly, there's not much to say here. I think it's a great get back right game for Miami, especially for Carson Beck and his squad. I hope that those 4 interceptions that he threw, please put it behind you. This team is way too good to let mental fog come into play here and kind of derail this season. Aaron, when I was looking I saw tickets for $9 for this game. We got to make our way down there one day and just go for fun. Um, Stanford obviously last week won against Florida State, but there's lots of injuries on that team, especially on defense. I think Miami's offense is just way too good. I think the easy answer here is Miami.
Yeah, man. I don't know if the Miami fans are just, sick and throwing the season away already, but we gotta change the dynamic. You can't throw your season away if you take one loss. That's not how college football works anymore. You can take one or two losses and potentially still make the playoffs. So I'm gonna have to agree with you there, Miami. But hey, don't give up on your team after one ugly loss.
Yeah.
Yep. Next on the list, we have at 7:30, number 25 Michigan going to Michigan State. Battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Bunyan.
Uh, Bunyan Bunyan Trophy. Yep. I've been scrolling on Twitter and I keep on seeing Michigan call Michigan State little brother. Little bro can't hang with me. Little bro can't compete with me. So there's clear hate. It's a rivalry game. We've seen the fights. I don't know what they do up north, but it's competitive, right?
Yeah.
So while Michigan is a clear favorite and has a much better record, the Michigan State rivalry, you know, uh, often defies expectations. The Spartans save their best games for the Wolverines. Despite both teams being on totally different trajectories, the last 10 years, Michigan State is actually 6-6 in their last 12 games. So it's literally like a 50-50 chance at this point.
Right.
Um, the Michigan team is good at running the ball and a defense that causes a lot of havoc against Michigan State. So Michigan State, they're near the bottom in FBS and defense and an offense that has no identity. And they're also ranked pretty low. With that being said, the statistics being what it is, even though it's a rivalry and you never know what can happen, I'm going to have to go with Michigan here.
Yeah, I think those last couple of things you said kind of solidified it for me. Michigan's advantages way outweigh Michigan State's disadvantages. So don't see them coming back from that. I think you and I have picked the same on every single game here. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you on one of these because somebody's got to win.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
Somebody's got to win. All right, let's get into a last couple of deep dives here. We got number 8 Ole Miss at number 13 Oklahoma. This will be a 12 p.m. game on Saturday. Ole Miss is obviously coming off a nail biter in Athens last week. Oklahoma is coming off an impressive win at South Carolina. I saw that Ole Miss was actually the underdog here by 4.5 points, and I thought that would be a great underdog pick of the week right off the jump. But that would mean discounting this Oklahoma team and John Mateer, and honestly, that's a big mistake. So I'm going to pump my brakes on that one for now. I think this is going to be a great, classic elite offense versus elite defense type of game. This game puts the strengths of each team directly against each other. Ole Miss's offense, led by obviously, I saw that Trinidad Chambliss has been announced as the quarterback for this game. Running back Quan Lacey, we've been talking about him for a few weeks now. He's one of the nation's best, and they rank as a team, eighth in FBS in total offense and 16th in scoring. Oklahoma's defense, obviously, they're great. They're statistically the best in the nation, actually, ranking first in FBS in total defense, 213 yards per game, and second in scoring defense. They allowed 9.4 points per game. That's not even that's 3 field goals. This will be the toughest test yet for the Rebels. Obviously, explosive attack. You can't play a better defense if the one you're playing is ranked first. So I can go on and on about how each of these teams have amazing stats and how they stack up against each other. Ole Miss is great at passing. OU is great at pass defense. OU's defensive line generates a lot of pressure. Ole Miss quarterbacks are great at scrambling. So while Ole Miss has the great offense and OU has the great defense, the other side of each of these teams is a little bit iffy. OU's offense has struggled with ball security. They have one of the worst turnover margins with -5. John Mateer has thrown 6 interceptions. That's included in that. Obviously, some of those came during the Texas game when he just came back from his hand surgery. So that's still a concern, and you have to wonder what kind of game you'll get out of him at this point. A lot of Oklahoma's success hinges on that. Ole Miss's defense is somewhere in the middle of the road. It's better at pass defense, but they'll basically let anybody run on them. So both of these teams have one loss. Ole Miss just lost to UGA. Oklahoma just lost a couple weeks ago to Texas. Aaron, what did UGA do well in order to win? That Oklahoma can recreate and try to win against Ole Miss.
Sure. So one thing that I saw that they did well, pretty much the whole game is they sustained long drives with their run game. They were doing 13, 14 plays, 70 something yard drives, and they scored a lot. Even though Trinidad Chambliss, he was very elusive, they applied some pressure to him late in the game and they routed him. And those 1 or 2 series were the difference that helped them win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Oklahoma will try to do. What did Texas do well against Oklahoma that Ole Miss can look to emulate?
Yeah. One thing they really did well was, just they were great in the red zone. Do what you have to do in order to keep, them to field goals. That's easier said than done, but that's what Texas did to Oklahoma. They limited them to just 2 field goals. And, Texas, they successfully leaned on their running back Wisner. He had 94 rushing yards, and he was critical in converting first downs. So Ole Miss, they need to consistently feed their running backs, particularly Kawan Lacey, to wear down that defensive front. Ultimately, listening to some of your analysis and understanding what each team needs to do in order to win this game, I think Ole Miss is going to find a way to bounce back. I'm not sure if uh, John Mateer is all the way back, so I'm going Ole Miss in this one.
Yeah, I think dang, that means I got Ole Miss as well. That means we're gonna have to disagree on that next one. But um yeah, John Mateer's hand for sure. And I think Lane Kiffin is about to come out with the craziest schemes we've ever seen in order to try and get this win, especially since this is coming right after a loss.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think Ole Miss is gonna win this one.
Okay. And we have made it to our last deep dive of the night. Number 3 Texas A&M is going to number 20 LSU at 7:30. Welcome to Death Valley on a Saturday night, right? Coach Brian Kelly, his Tigers are 5-2, coming off a brutal loss to Vanderbilt. Now they're set to host undefeated Texas A&M. Quarterback Marcel Reed, he's been lights out. He's been racking up over 1,700 passing yards, and he's had 19 total touchdowns and on a Heisman level season. So he's a favorite. But the Tigers have a secret weapon, their own stadium. LSU is 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 home matchups against the Aggies. With Baton Rouge, being the 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 rowdy crowd it is, they're ready to see a convincing win. This rivalry game will not only determine LSU's trajectory for the season, but it could also dramatically impact the SEC championship and college football playoff bid.
Yeah, can you imagine LSU derailing Texas A&M's kind of perfect season and favorites to win this, that, the other thing? Yeah. Aaron, like Brian Kelly, he's at home night game. One of the best scenes in college football. LSU's only losses are to Vanderbilt and Ole Miss, two teams who are ranked and could be in the CFB playoff. Not a terrible resume, but you've got to think you can't afford another loss. There's only so many, SEC teams that can make it in. Um, what does LSU have to do in order to win this game against this seemingly, unstoppable Texas A&M team?
Sure. Um, I'm going to say this quote: defense wins games, right? So let's talk about the LSU defense. They're a team that ranks nationally ninth in points allowed per game, just giving up 14.6 points a game. That's pretty elite, especially in a conference that's as explosive as the SEC, right? So their defensive stop rate is among the best in the country, and they've shown that they can clamp down in the red zone when it matters most. So in my opinion, players like, West Weeks and AJ Housey, they have to be ready to lead this defense. We've seen this team thrive when they create turnovers and when the momentum flips very easily. If they have a chance to keep this explosive offense off the field and limit scoring, they need to do so by creating turnovers, creating stops, right? On the latter end, offensively, you got quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. He's thrown for 1,638 yards, 11 touchdowns, and an okay QB rating of 68.4. So it's not Heisman level anymore like we thought it was going to be, but
Right.
it's enough to keep defenses honest, right? So the Tigers, they average about 253 passing yards a game. They rank 50 nationally, and their scoring sits at 25.9 points per game, tied for 85th. So that's where the challenge lies. Against a high-powered Aggie squad led by Marcel Reed, LSU must finish drives. They must avoid settling for field goals, and they got to put a lot of points on the board.
Mhm.
Um, on the latter end, right, you have Texas A&M, the last beast of the SEC to remain unbeaten, right? So, my question to you, Mash, what's the blueprint for Texas A&M to keep thriving? Do they lean on Marcel Reed's arm and go vertical? Do they grind it out and try to control the tempo of the game? And how do they keep LSU's pass rush from rattling their rhythm? I know you have your thoughts, so break it down for us.
Yeah, first thing I'll say is like keep doing what you've been doing to get you here, and that's obviously Marcel Reed, but I'll get to him in a moment. On defense, what I would do, Texas A&M has to attack LSU's primary weakness, which is their offensive line. A lot of their offense this year, LSU's, just can't get going because of the inability to get running lanes open when you're when you're not perennially, but when every game, if you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back, you're gonna run into trouble. So LSU is also dealing with some injuries at tackle. So defensive end, Cassius Howell, he'll need to be disruptive and feast when he can make Nussmeier make those quick, inaccurate throws. That'll be great for Texas A&M.
Mhm.
On offense, let let's get back to Marcel Reed. Let him be the playmaker that he is. He had 3 rushing touchdowns against LSU last year when they won by multiple scores. Obviously, LSU has a great defense this year, but their run defense has actually been degrading throughout the season. I see Marcel Reed taking advantage and fitting in quite nicely in there. If the LSU defense starts to target Reed some more, go ahead and lean on, Mario Craver, KC Concepcion. They're good athletes going against a good secondary, but you have to be able to trust your receivers if you want to win a night game in Bayou. So yeah, with that being said, I'm sure it'll be a great game. I'm sure LSU will hang in there, but Texas A&M is just looking too strong. They've got too many good weapons in different places where LSU has deficiencies. I'm going to go with Texas A&M on this one,
Hmm.
which means you have to pick LSU. I'm just kidding. Who do you pick?
So logically, you know, I think all the statistics and just how dominant Texas A&M has been this year, I think it leans towards them. It's going to be tough because they're on the road in Death Valley at night, but I think they find a way to win. So I'm going to go Texas A&M. We're going to have to
Uh,
agree on every game this week. Hopefully,
okay, that's fine.
we're a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perfect
Let's go perfect.
11
Let's go
0.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's put $1 in on a parlay. All right. Anyway, this episode has been pretty long, but we appreciate you guys watching. Once again, please subscribe. Please follow us on the other channels. This has been First and Short. He's Aaron. I'm Mashfik, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thank you.